Morning light streamed through the windows of the main colony dome on Proxima Centauri b. Governor Diane Powell stood at her office viewport, watching the twin suns rise over the eastern mountains. 20 years ago, this world had been nothing but red rocks and thin atmosphere. Now, a thriving colony of 5,000 people called it home. The comm unit on her desk buzzed. Powell took a deep breath and pressed the receive button. "Governor, we have a situation at the North Sensor Array," said the voice of Defense Chief Alan Garcia. His usually calm tone carried an edge of worry. "What kind of situation, Alan?" Powell asked, already reaching for her jacket. "Unknown ships entered the system about an hour ago. 6 of them, bigger than anything we've ever detected. They're not responding to hails." Powell felt her stomach tighten. In 20 years of space exploration, humanity had encountered only one other intelligent species, the native Centaurians of this world. The bird-like beings were peaceful, curious, and had welcomed the human settlers. They had no spacecraft of their own. "Have you alerted Earth?" she asked. "Tried to. Something's blocking our deep space transmitter. I've got Samantha working on it now." Powell nodded, though Garcia couldn't see her. Samantha Wells was their best communications expert. If anyone could get a message through, she could. "I'm heading to the command center. Have the settlement leaders on standby for emergency protocols." Outside, the colony hummed with normal morning activity. Children walked to school. Farmers tended the hydroponic gardens, and researchers prepared for their day's work. None of them knew what hung in the sky above them. Samantha Wells hadn't slept in 26 hours. Her eyes burned as she stared at the communications array controls. Next to her, Gregory Mitchell from engineering handed her another tool. "Try bypassing the main frequency regulator," he suggested. "If something's jamming us, it might be targeting standard channels." Samantha nodded and made the adjustment. The screen in front of her remained stubbornly red. "Whatever's blocking us is using technology I've never seen before," she said, pushing her blonde hair out of her face. "It's like they know exactly how our systems work." A loud boom shook the communications building, sending dust raining from the ceiling. Samantha and Gregory exchanged worried glances. "That wasn't thunder," Gregory said. Defense Chief Garcia stood in the colony's small command center, surrounded by screens showing chaos. The 6 alien ships had deployed smaller craft that were now entering the atmosphere. 3 of the colony's outlying research stations had gone silent. "What are we looking at?" Governor Powell asked as she rushed into the room. Garcia pointed to the main screen. "First contact, and they're not friendly. Those ships are military, weapon mounts, armor plating. Our scanners picked up energy readings off the charts." Powell watched in horror as one of the small alien ships fired on a farming outpost. The entire complex disappeared in a flash of light. "Get our people to the shelters," she ordered. "And someone find me Dr. Lawson. We need to warn the Centaurians." The door to the command center slid open, and a young security officer named Peter Collins stumbled in, his uniform torn and face streaked with dirt. "They're already on the ground," he gasped. "Some kind of reptile beings. They're rounding up colonists at the Eastern Dome." Dr. Kevin Lawson raced through the forest path that connected the human colony to the nearest Centaurian settlement. His lungs burned as he ran, the planet's thin air making every breath a struggle. Behind him, smoke rose from the human colony. The Centaurian elder, a tall bird-like creature named Cretal, met him at the village entrance. "The sky demons have returned," Cretal said in the clicking language that had taken humans years to understand. "Our ancestors spoke of them in stories, the Carven. They come to harvest." "Harvest what?" Lawson asked, still catching his breath. Cretal's large golden eyes blinked slowly. "Everything. Resources. Knowledge. People." 1 week after the arrival of the alien ships, half the colony was under Carven control. Governor Powell had established a makeshift command center in an abandoned mining tunnel. Around her, 200 colonists huddled in the darkness, including children and the elderly. "Report," she said as Garcia entered, his face grim in the dim emergency lighting. The Carven have set up processing centers in the main domes, he said. They're separating colonists by age and skill set. Some are being taken to their ships. Others. He paused, his voice breaking. Others aren't coming back out. Powell closed her eyes briefly. And our defenses? Our security forces are holding the Western Quadrant with help from some Centaurian warriors. But we've lost most of our weapons, it's just a matter of time. A commotion at the tunnel entrance drew their attention. Samantha Wells rushed in, her face dirty but her eyes bright with hope. We did it, she said, holding up a small device. Greg and I built a bypass transmitter. We can punch through their jamming signal. It won't last long, but it should be enough to send a message to Earth. Powell felt a flicker of hope. Earth is 4.2 light years away. Even if we get a message through, it will take years for help to arrive. Garcia placed a hand on her shoulder. But it will come. And these Carven should know what they're in for when it does. The makeshift transmitter was set up on a hill overlooking what had once been the colony's main plaza. Now it was a landing pad for Carven shuttles. From their hiding spot, Samantha, Gregory, and 2 security officers could see colonists being marched in chains toward the waiting ships. We'll only get one shot at this, Samantha whispered. Once we start broadcasting, they'll trace our position within minutes. Gregory nodded, making final adjustments to the device. I've set it to compress the data packet, colony status, Carven ship specifications, everything we've learned about their weapons and tactics. The group fell silent as a Carven patrol passed below their position. The aliens stood 7 feet tall with scaled skin and elongated skulls. They carried energy weapons and moved with predatory grace. Now, Samantha said when the patrol was out of sight. She activated the transmitter and spoke into the microphone. This is Proxima Colony calling Earth Command. We are under attack by hostile alien forces called the Carven. Civilian casualties mounting. 5,000 colonists in danger of extinction. Request immediate military assistance, transmitting tactical data now. Please respond, this may be our final transmission. The device hummed as it sent the compressed data packet hurtling through space toward Earth. A minute passed. 2. Then alarms began to sound in the Carven camp below. They've detected us, one of the security officers said. Time to move. As they gathered their equipment, Gregory paused. Do you think Earth will really send help? Samantha nodded firmly. I know they will. But will there be anyone left to save when they get here? That's the question. 3 months after the invasion, the human resistance had been pushed back to a few remote hideouts. Governor Powell stood in a hidden cave where the last free colonists had gathered. Before her, 100 tired faces looked up with fading hope. Today, we lost the northern refuge, she told them honestly. The Carven found the tunnels, only half our people made it out. Murmurs of despair rippled through the crowd. A woman clutched her child closer. An old man wept silently. But we also confirmed that our message to Earth was successfully transmitted. Powell continued. Chief Garcia's spy in the Carven Command Center reports they detected the signal leaving the system. They know we've called for help. Dr. Lawson stepped forward, a Centaurian scroll in his hands. The native elders have shared their knowledge of the Carven. They visited this system before thousands of years ago. The Centaurians drove them, off once with great sacrifice. We sent our message, Powell said, her voice growing stronger. Now we fight. Not just to survive until help arrives, but to show these Carven what humans are made of. We may be outgunned, but we're not defeated. Not while one of us still draws breath. A determined silence fell over the cave. These were not soldiers or warriors. They were scientists, farmers, teachers, and engineers. But in their eyes, Powell saw something the Carven would never understand. Human resilience. Earth will come, she told them. Our job is to be here when they do. Outside, the alien ships continued to descend from the sky, bringing more troops to hunt the remaining colonists. The Carven believed themselves invincible, masters of all they surveyed. They had no concept of the fury they had awakened across, the stars or the fleet that would one day arrive to answer humanity's call. The message from Proxima Centauri traveled through the emptiness of space for 4.2 years. A silent cry for help, moving at the speed of light. When it finally reached Earth, it arrived at the United Nations Space Command headquarters in Geneva on a quiet Tuesday morning. Communications officer Paul Baker was nearing the end of his shift when the deep space receiver picked up the signal. At first he thought it was just background noise, the usual static from distant stars. Then the computer began to decode it. "This is Proxima Colony calling Earth Command. We are under attack by hostile alien forces called the Carven. Civilian. Casualties mounting." Paul's coffee mug slipped from his fingers and shattered on the floor. His hands trembled as he hit the emergency alert button. "Sir," he called to his supervisor, "we have a Priority 1 distress call from Proxima Colony." Within 30 minutes, the main command room was filled with military officers and government officials. Admiral Catherine Reyes, commander of Earth's Space Defense Forces, stood at the center of the room as the message played for the third time. "Run the data packet analysis again," she ordered, her face grim. On the main screen, images from Proxima appeared. Alien ships, reptilian soldiers, burning colony buildings. "And get me the president." General Richard Howard, head of Space Force Operations, stepped forward. 4 years, he said quietly. "They've been fighting for 4 years while this message traveled to us." Admiral Reyes nodded, her eyes never leaving the screen. "If anyone's still alive out there, they've been holding on all this time, waiting for us. Can we even help them?" asked a civilian official from the back of the room. "Proxima is 4.2 light-years away. By the time we get there, we can be there in 3 weeks," interrupted Dr. Linda Morton, chief scientist of the Displacement Drive project. All eyes turned to her as she stepped forward. "The prototype drive is ready. We've been running successful tests for the past 18 months. The room fell silent. The gravitational displacement drive had been Earth's most closely guarded secret, a technology that would revolutionize space travel by folding space itself. What once would have taken years could now be accomplished in weeks. "Is it safe for a full fleet?" Admiral Reyes asked. Dr. Morton nodded. "We've sent unmanned probes to the edge of the solar system and back. The math works. The engineering works. We just needed a reason to take the next step." "I'd say we have our reason," General Howard said, pointing to the frozen image of Carven soldiers rounding up human colonists. President Olivia Martinez sat alone in the Oval Office, watching the distress message for the 5th time. Outside, her window, the Washington skyline, was peaceful in the afternoon sun, citizens going about their daily lives, unaware that humanity had just entered a new era. Her chief of staff, Daniel Wright, entered with a tablet in hand. "Madam President, we have the assessment reports from Space Command." Martinez took the tablet and scrolled through the data. "What's our military readiness?" "Better than they know," Wright replied. "After the Mars insurrection 3 years ago, we accelerated the warship production program. We have the USS Valiant and 46 other combat vessels ready for deployment, all with the latest weapon systems." Martinez nodded slowly. "And these Carven? What do we know about them?" "Only what the Proxima data packet tells us. Technologically advanced, aggressive, expansionist. They've apparently conquered multiple species across at least 17 star systems. And now they think they can take ours," Martinez said, her voice hardening. She stood and walked to the window. "Schedule an emergency session of the UN Security Council for tonight, and a worldwide address for tomorrow morning." Wright made notes on his tablet. "What will you tell people?" Martinez turned, her expression resolute. "The truth, that we are not alone in the universe, that there are threats among the stars, and that humanity will not abandon its own." The United Nations Security Council meeting lasted until dawn. Representatives from all major nations watched the Proxima message in stunned silence, then debated through the night. By morning, they had reached a unanimous decision, the first time in decades that all permanent members had agreed without veto. 2 hours later, President Martinez stood before a bank of microphones in the White House press room. Behind her stood leaders from 20 nations, a united front as cameras broadcasted her words to every corner of the globe. "My fellow citizens of Earth," she began, her voice steady and clear. "Today I must share with you news that will forever change our understanding of our place in the universe. 4 years ago, our colony on Proxima Centauri came under attack by an aggressive alien civilization known as the Carvan Empire. Gasps echoed through the press room as images from the data packet appeared on screens worldwide. Martinez continued, "Without pause, our brothers and sisters on Proxima have been fighting for survival since that day, hoping that their message for help would reach us. It has. And now, we must answer." She gripped the edges of the podium, her knuckles white. "I have authorized the immediate deployment of Earth's First Fleet under the command of Admiral William Frost. For the first time in human history, we will send our ships beyond our solar system, not for exploration, but to defend our people from extinction." At the lunar shipyards, activity reached fever pitch. Ships that had been built in secret over the past decade were being loaded with supplies and weapons. Crews said goodbye to families over secure video links, unable to reveal their true mission. Admiral William Frost stood on the bridge of the USS Valiant, Earth's first true battleship. At 800 meters long, it carried enough firepower to level a continent. Around it floated 46 other warships of varying sizes, from nimble frigates to heavy cruisers. Frost was 53 years old, with silver hair and a face weathered by years of service. He had commanded Earth forces during the Mars insurrection, a conflict that had shocked humanity with its brutality. Now he prepared to lead humans into an even greater test. "Fleet status?" he asked his executive officer, Commander Heather Ross. "All ships report ready, Admiral," she replied. "Displacement drive systems are green across the board. Marine contingents are loaded and equipped. Medical bays are prepped for potential casualties." Frost nodded. "And the weapon systems?" "Full complement of relativistic kinetic projectiles, energy cannons, and defense screens. Dr. Morton says our technology should be at least comparable to what the Carvan have shown, possibly superior in some areas." "Let's hope she's right," Frost said, "because we're about to find out." The comm system chimed. "Admiral, incoming transmission from UNSC headquarters. President Martinez wishes to address the fleet." "Put her through to all ships," Frost ordered. "President." Martinez's face appeared on screens throughout the fleet. "Admiral Frost, commanders and crew of Earth's First Fleet, you are about to embark on the most important mission in human history. The people of Proxima Colony have held out for 4 years against overwhelming odds, never knowing if their call for help would be answered. Today you answer that call." She paused, her eyes moving as if trying to see each person watching. "You carry with you not just the hopes of 5,000 colonists, but the future of our species. For the first time, humanity faces a threat from beyond our solar system. How we respond will define us for generations to come." Frost felt the weight of her words settle on his shoulders. "Show these Carvan and any other species watching what it means to threaten the people of Earth," Martinez concluded. "Godspeed, First Fleet. Bring our people home." The transmission ended. Frost turned to his crew, seeing determination in every face. "Navigation," he called. "Set coordinates for the displacement portal. Communications. Signal all ships to form up in transit formation." On the main view screen, a massive ring-shaped structure appeared, floating in lunar orbit. The displacement portal had been humanity's greatest engineering achievement, built in secret over the past 5 years. Now it would send Earth's defenders to a distant star. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Commander Ross said, "awaiting your order." Admiral Frost took a deep breath. All his years of service had led to this moment. "Signal all ships," he said. "Operation Homecoming is now active. For Earth and Proxima." One by one, the warships of Earth's First Fleet moved toward the Mauder, glowing portal. The USS Valiant led the way, its massive bulk entering the swirling energy field that would bend space itself. In a flash of light, it disappeared, followed by the rest of the fleet. The journey to Proxima Centauri had begun. In 3 weeks, humanity would arrive on the galactic stage, and the Carvan Empire would learn what it meant to provoke Earth. The darkness of space around Proxima Centauri rippled and twisted. Flashes of blue light erupted from nowhere, tearing holes in the fabric of reality. Through these ruptures, ships began to emerge, human ships, their hulls gleaming with the Insignia of Earth's first fleet. The USS Valiant came through first, its massive form dwarfing the other vessels that followed. On its bridge, Admiral William Frost gripped the railing as the displacement effects faded. His stomach settled as normal space reasserted itself around them. "Displacement complete," announced the navigation officer. "All systems returning to normal operation. We've arrived at the outer edge of the Proxima Centauri system, sir." "Status of the fleet?" Frost asked, his eyes fixed on the view screen where the twin stars of Proxima glowed in the distance. "All 47 ships accounted for and reporting in. No damage from transit." Commander Heather Ross approached with a data tablet. "Sensors are picking up multiple artificial objects in orbit around Proxima B, matching configurations from the year. Colony's data packet." "Carven vessels, sir." Frost nodded grimly. "How many?" "Only 3 capital ships. The rest appear to be support vessels and troop transports." Ross looked up from her tablet. They weren't expecting company. A tense smile formed on Frost's face. "Let's keep our arrival quiet as long as we can. Deploy stealth drones for full system scan. I want to know exactly what we're facing before we announce ourselves." "Yes, sir," Ross replied, already sending the orders. Intelligence Officer Natalie Clark joined them, her expression serious. "Admiral, initial scans show significant changes to the colony since the SOS was sent. Multiple new structures have been built. The Carven have been busy." "Any sign of survivors?" Frost asked, the question everyone had been avoiding. Clark nodded, relief visible on her face. "Yes, sir. We're detecting approximately 3,000 human life signs concentrated in several locations on the surface. They're alive." A collective exhale seemed to pass through the bridge crew. They hadn't been too late. "They've held out for 4 years," Frost said quietly. "Now let's make sure they didn't fight in vain." In the colony's main habitat dome, now converted to a Carven processing center, Governor Diane Powell scrubbed the floor on her hands and knees. 4 years of captivity had worn her body thin, but her eyes still burned with defiance as she looked up at the Carven overseer standing above her. "Faster, human," the reptilian alien hissed, tapping its energy prod against its scaled leg. "The commander visits today." Powell returned to her work, hiding her face. The Resistance had received word from their spies. Something had the Carven leadership worried. Their patrols had doubled in the past day, and ships that normally orbited the planet had moved to the outer system. As the overseer turned away, Powell glanced at Alan Garcia, who worked nearby maintaining Carven equipment. Their eyes met briefly. Garcia gave a tiny nod. Something was happening. The tiny communication device hidden in Powell's ear buzzed softly. "Governor," came the whispered voice of one of their hidden observers. "The sky is changing." Aboard the Carven command ship Devourer, Supreme Commander Zorax received the alert from his sensor operators. "Unknown ships detected at the edge of the system," reported his second-in-command. 47 vessels of unknown configuration. Zorax's scaled brow furrowed. "Impossible. This system has no other spacefaring species." The ships appeared suddenly. "Commander, they did not come through normal space." Zorax moved to the viewport, his clawed hand tightening around his ceremonial staff. In 17 conquered systems, no species had ever managed to surprise the Carven Empire. Their technological superiority had always been absolute. "Bring all ships to combat readiness," he ordered. "Deploy our battle fleet to intercept." "But Commander," his second protested, "that would leave the planet lightly defended." "These humans are broken," Zorax said dismissively. "They've been subdued for years. They are no threat. Whoever these newcomers are, they must be dealt with first." On the bridge of the Valiant, Admiral Frost watched as the Carven ships changed formation. "They've spotted us," he noted. "Tactical, what are we looking at?" The tactical officer's hands flew over his console. 5 heavy warships and 12 support vessels moving to intercept. They're leaving only a skeleton force in orbit around the planet. Frost nodded. "Just as we hoped, they're overconfident." He turned to address the bridge crew. "This is what we've prepared for. The Carven believe they're the dominant force in this region of space. Today, they learn differently. He pressed a button on his command chair. All ships, this is Admiral Frost. Phase 1 of Operation Homecoming begins now. Battle Groups 1 through 4, engage the Carven fleet. Battle Group 5, prepare for orbital insertion. Marine units, ready for drop deployment. Throughout the fleet, soldiers and crew, members moved to their positions. In the landing bays, Marine squads checked their weapons and armor. Commander Frank Dalton addressed his troops in the Valiant's main bay. Today, we fight not just for Earth, but for our brothers and sisters who have endured 4 years of hell, he told them. When we hit the ground, we hit it hard. Our priority is securing the main colony and freeing our people. Among the Marines, Lieutenant Pamela Evans checked her rifle's power cell for the 3rd time. She had family on Proxima, an aunt and 2 cousins who had moved there 7 years ago. She didn't know if they were still alive, but today she would find out. "Mount up," Dalton ordered. 5 minutes to drop. The space battle began with a flash of light. Earth's ships fired first, launching relativistic kinetic projectiles, essentially metal rods accelerated to near light speed. The Carven shields, designed to stop energy weapons, proved useless against physical objects moving at such velocities. 2 Carven ships shattered immediately, their hulls punctured in dozens of places. The others returned fire, their energy beams slicing through space toward Earth's fleet. Evasive maneuvers, Frost ordered as the Valiant rocked from a glancing hit. Deploy countermeasures and return fire. Earth's ships scattered in practiced formation, their defense screens absorbing what hits they couldn't avoid. The Carven had superior numbers in the engagement, but Earth had the element of surprise and more advanced technology. "Sir," reported Commander Ross, "the Carven flagship is hanging back, directing the battle from a distance." Frost studied the tactical display. "Classic mistake. Target their communication relays. Let's see how well they fight when they can't coordinate." On the surface of Proxima B, Governor Powell and the other prisoners heard the distant rumble of explosions. At first they thought it was thunder, until the Carven guards began shouting an alarm. "What's happening?" Powell whispered to Garcia as they huddled near the habitat wall. "Look up," he replied, pointing through the dome's transparent ceiling. In the sky above, bright flashes of light marked the positions of ships in combat. As they watched, a Carven vessel broke apart, its destruction visible even from the ground. "Could it be?" Powell breathed, hardly daring to hope. After all this time? The emergency sirens began to wail throughout the colony. Carven soldiers rushed to defensive positions, barking orders and shoving human prisoners aside. In the confusion, Garcia pulled Powell behind a large storage container. "The resistance is ready," he told her. "If this is what we think it is, we need to be prepared to move." Powell nodded. 4 years of careful planning, of building a hidden network among the captive colonists, had prepared them for this moment. "Signal the cell leaders. When our rescuers arrive, we'll be ready to help them." Lieutenant Evans and her squad plummeted toward the planet's surface in their drop pods, the friction of re-entry turning the metal shells red-hot. Above them, Earth frigates engaged the few remaining Carven ships in orbit, clearing a path for the landing force. 30 seconds to landing," announced her pod's computer. "Deploying drag shields." Evans gripped her harness as the pod decelerated violently. Around her, 40 other pods carried the first wave of Marines toward the main colony complex. "Remember," she told her squad over the comm, "our first objective is securing the administrative center. Intelligence believes that's where they're holding the colony leadership." The pod slammed into the ground with bone-jarring force. The door blew outward, and Evans led her squad into the light of an alien world. Ahead of them stood the colony's main habitat dome, now surrounded by Carven fortifications, and the battle for Proxima Colony began in earnest. Lieutenant Pamela Evans ducked behind a fallen wall as Carven energy blasts scorched the air above her head. Her squad had fought their way through 3 defensive lines to reach the colony's administrative building, but the aliens weren't surrendering. "Easily, cover me," she shouted to her team. 2 Marines rose up, firing suppressive bursts that forced the Carven guards to seek shelter. Evans sprinted forward, tossing a stun grenade through a shattered window. The flash and boom were followed by alien screams. "Move in," she ordered. The Marines stormed the building, weapons ready. The interior was dark, emergency lights casting red shadows across walls that once held the hopes and dreams of humanity's first interstellar colony. As they cleared room after room, Evans felt her heart pounding. According to intelligence, the colony's leaders were being held somewhere in this facility. If Governor Powell was still alive, finding her was critical to organizing the remaining colonists. "Lieutenant," called one of her soldiers from down a corridor. "We found something." Evans followed the voice to a reinforced door. The Marine pointed to a control panel. "It's locked, but I'm picking up human life signs inside." With a nod from Evans, the team's tech specialist went to work on the lock. Seconds later, the door slid open. The smell hit them first. Unwashed bodies, fear, and desperation. As their light swept the space, Evans saw dozens of hollow-eyed humans staring back at them. "Earth Defense Force," she announced clearly. "We're here to take you home." A thin woman with gray-streaked hair stepped forward. Despite her ragged clothes and gaunt face, she carried herself with unmistakable authority. "I'm Governor Diane Powell," she said, her voice hoarse but steady. "And you're about 4 years late." Evans nodded respectfully. "Sorry for the delay, ma'am. Traffic was terrible." For the first time in years, Powell smiled. Above the planet, the space battle had turned decisively in Earth's favor. The Carven ships, though numerous, were outmatched by human technology and tactics. On the Valiant's bridge, Admiral Frost watched as the last major Carven vessel attempted to flee. "Disable their engines," he ordered. "I want that ship intact." Precision fire from the Valiant's weapons struck the Carven flagship's propulsion systems. The massive alien vessel drifted helplessly in space, surrounded by the wreckage of its fleet. "Sir," reported Commander Ross, "all Carven ships have been neutralized. We have complete control of orbital space." Frost nodded grimly. "And the ground situation?" "Marines have secured the main colony complex and 3 outlying settlements. Resistance is fierce in the northern continent, but we're making progress. Commander Dalton reports that they've located Governor Powell and most of the colony leadership." "Casualties?" Ross's expression tightened. 27 dead, 43 wounded on our side. Colonist casualties are still being assessed, but early reports suggest at least 1,000 lost during the 4-year occupation. Frost closed his eyes briefly, absorbing the weight of those numbers. "Have the medical ships begin transfer of wounded immediately, and prepare a boarding party for the Carven flagship. I want to meet their commander face to face." In the colony's medical center, now reclaimed by human forces, Dr. Kevin Lawson worked alongside Earth medics to treat the injured. 4 years of Carven rule had left many colonists malnourished and scarred, both physically and mentally. As he bandaged a child's arm, Lawson looked up to see Governor Powell enter with Lieutenant Evans. Powell had cleaned up and changed into a proper uniform provided by the Earth forces, but exhaustion still lined her face. "Doctor," she greeted him, "how are our people?" "They'll survive," Lawson replied. "The Earth ships brought supplies and medicine we haven't seen in years, and news. They brought news of home." Powell nodded, emotion briefly crossing her features. "I just received the full briefing. 4 years we've been fighting alone, not knowing if our message even reached Earth. And all that time they were building a fleet to come save us," Lawson said, shaking his head in wonder. "I never thought I'd see Earth ships in my lifetime." A commotion at the door drew their attention. A group of Centaurians entered, led by the elder Cretal. The bird-like beings had suffered alongside the humans during the Carven occupation. "The sky demons retreat from the northern lands," Cretal announced, his golden eyes bright with excitement. "Your warriors drive them before, them like leaves in the wind." Lieutenant Evans stepped forward. "We've secured the main Carven command post. They're surrendering across the planet." Powell exchanged a meaningful look with Cretal. "These warriors came for us," she told the Centaurian, "but they fight for you as well. Your people are as much victims of the Carven as we are." Cretal bowed his feathered head. Perhaps the stars have brought us together for this purpose, to stand united against those who would conquer. On the captured Carven flagship, Admiral Frost strode through alien corridors flanked by Marines. The ship's design was strange to human eyes: curved walls covered in glowing script, air that smelled of sulfur and unknown spices. They reached what appeared to be the command center. Inside, surrounded by armed guards, knelt Supreme Commander Zorax, his scaled body bound in restraints. The Carven leader looked up as Frost entered, reptilian eyes narrowing. "So," Zorax said, his translator converting his hisses into English, "the prey species shows its teeth." Frost stood before him, hands clasped behind his back. "We are not prey, Commander. We never were." "You are an anomaly," Zorax replied. "No species has ever responded as you have. 17 systems we have conquered. Hundreds of worlds. None sent warships across the stars to save a single colony." "Then you've never encountered humans before," Frost said simply. "We don't abandon our own." The Carven commander studied Frost with new interest. "Your ships, your weapons, they are beyond what we thought possible for your kind. How did you travel here so quickly?" Frost didn't answer. Instead, he activated a display panel showing the planet below. Earth ships surrounded it protectively, while shuttles moved between the surface and the fleet. "Your occupation of Proxima Colony is over," Frost told him. "Your forces will be removed from this system permanently." Zorax's scales bristled. "The Carven Empire spans 17 systems. We have countless ships, billions of soldiers. This defeat is meaningless." "Is it?" Frost asked quietly. "Our intelligence teams are already analyzing your ship's database. We know the locations of your core worlds, your fleet deployments, your empire's structure. We know which species you've enslaved and which resources you value." Fear flickered in the alien's eyes for the first time. "This was not a battle, Commander Zorax," Frost continued. "This was a rescue mission. But make no mistake, if your empire threatens any human settlement again, what follows will be war. And you've seen today what happens when humanity goes to war." 1 week later, Governor Powell stood with Admiral Frost on a hillside overlooking the colony. Earth ships filled the sky above them, bringing supplies and reinforcements. Throughout the settlement, reconstruction had begun. The Carven structures were being dismantled and the original colony buildings restored. "We're assigning a permanent defense fleet to Proxima," Frost told her. "The Valiant and a dozen other ships will remain here, with regular rotations from Earth." Powell nodded, watching colonists and Earth military personnel working side by side. 4 years ago, we were alone in the universe except for the Centaurians. Now we know there are threats among the stars, but also that Earth won't forget us. The President has authorized the establishment of similar defenses for all our colonies," Frost said. "And we're accelerating the settlement program. Humanity needs to expand to grow stronger." "And the Carven?" Frost's expression hardened. "They've agreed to withdraw from this system permanently. We're sending a diplomatic mission to their homeworld to negotiate a formal treaty." "Do you think they'll honor it?" Powell asked skeptically. "They will," Frost assured her, "because the alternative is learning what happens when Earth sends not a rescue fleet, but a war fleet." In the colony below, a new flag was being raised beside the Earth banner, a flag showing human and Centaurian hands clasped together against a starry background. Kretel and several other Centaurian elders watched the ceremony alongside human officials. "We're signing a mutual defense pact with the Centaurians tomorrow," Powell said. "The first alliance between humans and another species." "It won't be the last," Frost replied. "The universe just got a lot bigger for all of us." As the sun set over Proxima Colony, messages were already spreading across the stars. The Carven Empire's defeat had been observed by countless other civilizations. Some received the news with fear, others with hope, but all understood the same truth. Humans would cross the void of space itself to protect their own. They answered distress calls with warships, and any species that threatened them would face the full might of Earth. The age of human isolation was over. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage,